Hi, Senator Faxon. Thank you for
so
meeting
much.
with us today to talk about the school readiness of young children and how important that is to our state's economic future and to having a high-quality, world-class workforce in Michigan. We want you to understand that we are part of a nonpartisan educational effort. We want to educate candidates, but we will not endorse candidates. My name is Jamina Tepley, and this is Lisa Sturgis. We're both parents who are involved with the Oakland County Great Start Parent Coalition. Our Parent Coalition is a group of parents who volunteer to help educate parents, community leaders, and folks like you about what young children need to be ready for school success. Our Great Start Parent Coalition is part of the Great Start Collaborative in Oakland County. We are in partnership with the Early Childhood Investment Corporation, which brings together federal, state, and private dollars to help support our county to do what it takes to make sure kids are ready for school. The funding we receive from ECIC makes a real difference in bringing our community together to invest in young children. We know there is no silver bullet answer to how we make sure every child is ready for school. That is why Great Start looks at what we need to do for young children's physical and mental health, on-track development and early learning and early care, and parenting leadership. As you can see from looking at this chart, these component areas are what we know have an influence on children's readiness for school. Only by getting everybody working together, parents, doctors, child care homes and centers, preschools, and other community organizations, can we make sure that no children slip through the cracks, and that every child has a chance to reach his or her full potential. What we're trying to do is especially important for children who have more than the usual risk factors in their lives, whether that be very poor children, children who are victims of abuse or neglect, or special needs children. Our work at Great Start is a balance between what research tells us about what young children need and what local families tell us their children need. The reason why a focus on the youngest children is so important is because of what brain research tells us. How familiar are you with the current research on young children's brain development?
Well, I'm quite familiar, actually. I feel very concerned about the fact that during the period of time when this brain development is actually taking place, that the levels of stimulation that are consistent with that development should be appropriate to the development of the brain, so that the quality of both tend to pull together to bring a synthesis of excellence in the development of the child's readiness for school.
That's excellent. We also have research that shows the economic impact of investing in our youngest children. How familiar are you with research from economic development research published by leading economists from the Minnesota Federal Reserve Bank, the University of Chicago and James Heckman, and the Upjohn Institute here in Michigan, that shows the unprecedented return on investment the public achieves through investment in early childhood programs?
Well, I'm not familiar with any of the specifics that you have identified, although I could readily understand that any investment in early childhood education would subsequently reap a substantial reward to the overall productivity of that individual in society as they mature into adults.
Absolutely. These economists that I named reviewed research on a number of high-quality early childhood programs, including the high-scope Perry preschool program, which is right here in Ypsilanti, Michigan, and saw that for every dollar invested in this program for low-income children, a return of over $7 to $17 was reaped.
In what form is that reaped?
Well, these were benefits that accrued both to the individual, who was more successful in school, got and kept better jobs, and had better chances of staying out of prison, and they were benefits also that accrued to society in reduced costs for expenditures like grade repetition in schools, welfare benefits, and prison costs.
So were they able to take one group of students who were given the benefits of the program and contrast that with an equal number of students at the other end and see the differences that occurred as a result of the passage of time?
Well, I'm not sure about their exact methodology, and if you'd be interested, I'd be happy to send you a site to the study, but I do know that they did follow a group of children who attended this particular preschool program, and they followed them throughout their lives and into adulthood, and that's exactly what they found, that they did better in school, they had better chances of going to college, they got better jobs, they had higher incomes, and they had better chances of staying out of prison.
Well, we always have believed that education will, in the long run, always advantage the individual who starts early and succeeds as a result of their self-esteem and their ability to succeed in the group's activities, and that's why we invest in early education, I hope.
Absolutely. Now, the Early Childhood Investment Corporation did some polling earlier this year, and they discovered that Michigan voters strongly support early childhood. Did you happen to see that poll?
No, but I think everybody always supports something that nobody could be against. I think it's an issue more as to how things of this nature are going to be financed rather than whether the idea itself is lacking in merit.
Well, you're absolutely right. I will only point out to you, though, that of the voters surveyed in this ECIC poll, 83% saw early childhood development and education programs as an absolute necessity for their communities, and more than 50% said they would cast their vote in the upcoming election based on a candidate's position in early childhood investments. What we really want is for you to start thinking, and perhaps in your case you already have been for some time, but about the state and local issues related to children from birth to age 5, so they're ready for school when they hit the kindergarten door. For example, here in Oakland County, there are 18,370 disadvantaged children between birth and age 5 who need high-quality early learning services. Currently, only 3,275 of those children are receiving free high-quality early learning preschool programs. Reaching more of these families with quality early childhood programs will result in greater outcomes and build the strong society we need in an economically competitive world.
Now, in my case, I have to go back to an earlier period of time when early childhood wasn't necessarily an available resource, and where children nevertheless did manage to succeed in school, and maybe a large portion of that might be in part due to the parental involvement with children, so that the concentration in early childhood education has to also have a concomitant experience with parenting skills, so that the child is in an environment that is supportive of the very thing that is going to best enhance their future.
Absolutely, and that's why, as you see on our star, 2 of the 5 points are family support and parenting leadership. It's part of our mission as an organization to see that that families have the resources they need to prepare their children for success, but sometimes a part of that also has to be some of these early education type programs. If you are elected, we need you to put investment in early childhood at the top of your priorities. We want a state where there's an economic future for our kids, where there's enough opportunities that our kids will want to stay here and not leave Michigan. Do you have any other comments or questions for us?
Well, if we go back to the point where I started from just before, and that is that in my beginning days, we didn't have early childhood, and frankly, my parents were not that directly involved, but somehow there was a certain sensitivity to the idea that children should be able to explore and develop and play and live out certain of their activities in a fantasy setting that was healthy, and that gave children a chance to emerge out of these settings, and the leadership capacity and whatever other functions they had. And this was done really without any parental or adult interference. So I kind of wonder, why is it that adults need to be so involved in early childhood when we know that sometimes intervention can have an alternative effect in stifling creativity and